Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jim Amato. Welcome back to Fighting Words with Shirley Doe. One I've been looking forward to for a long time because quite frankly, and I don't mind saying this, Doe, you're one of my favorite people in and around wrestling. You're a book of knowledge. You're also a madman, so you seem to be in a mellow, good mood. So
it's about as good as it gets. So yeah,
that'll make this relatively easy and safe for me. You have been a professional wrestler for nearly a quarter century.
I know. I just yelled at AJ Alexander that I am. He said, "You can go back to your locker room now," because I was making fun of him. And I said, "I've been wrestling longer than you're alive, so I'll go over." I'm not going to swear, but I said,
"You can. It's all right."
I said, "I'll go where the fuck I want." How's that?
That's good.
That's good. That's the good swearing. There's only one word better than that. But anyway, sorry, Jim. Yeah, 25 years, almost 25. Started in 1997. So yeah. Oh boy, that's a long time.
Long time.
23 years. Yeah.
And through
you can get my career drunk now legally. It can almost rent a car on its own.
Through this promotion, you have. I mean, this was one of your early stops in your career. And you've really had a run that very few people have had. And I'm not just, it's not wrestling hyperbole. I'm not just patting you on the back. Through like the alphabet soup of the independent world of Pittsburgh wrestling.
Yeah.
How have you seen the scene evolve over the past 2 decades plus?
It's crazy because when I first started, there weren't shows all the time. Like there was a show, I trained and like we would hunt for shows, right? So we'd go to Detroit or we would go to like upstate New York, and there would be few and far between when there were shows. PWX was the only people that ran consistently, so that's why I started there. When I came to PWX, I had a different name, a different outlook on wrestling, and I became who I really am here. So it holds whatever name we want to refer to it as. It holds a really special place in my heart. So that was a big thing to me. Like, I'm going to answer one question before you ask it, and then answer your question. So, like,
you can do whatever you want.
I'm trying not to. Winning the Fight Society title was a big deal to me because I never had the PWX title, and that was like I have a theory in life that you base your first success in any career you have based on the first company you work for and what is considered a success there. So obviously in PWX it was winning the heavyweight title. And so I would never guess when I started I'd be anywhere near that. So the closest I got before that is I stole Scott Gash's belt. I'm dating myself, maybe 11, 12 years ago.
Yeah, I was actually, believe it or not, that was the first PWX show that I did commentary for, was the night that you and Gash had the 2 belts on a pole match.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And you took that horrendous air raid crash on the floor.
Yeah.
And
I couldn't walk after. I like whenever you have a match like that and then you just literally can't walk. You feel like a marionette whose strings have been cut. That's a really good feeling.
Yes,
it's like
I feel like that a lot too, but it has nothing to do with wrestling.
Yeah, but it's for wrestling. It's a good feeling because it feels like at least you put it out there, and then on the way home, you're like, "How am I going to drive home?" That happened on the way back from Rise this year. I tore my inner, I don't know what you would call it, everything behind my crotch, basically my hamstring, everything, all the way down to the knee, and it went like black, like purple black, right away, and it like freaked me out really bad. This is like in February maybe, and that's why I started like taking care of myself finally, like eating right and going to the gym and stuff. Like I should anyway, but because I'm old. And I started doing that, but that was like a hard drive home because I can only use one of my legs. So I duct taped my leg on the side of the road so that it would stay straight so that I could drive home because I didn't want to call and bother anybody to drive me because I'm like stupid. It's like you could either look at, that's what I love about wrestling. You can either look at wrestling as like really brave and like, oh, that guy really loves wrestling. Or like, man, that guy's really stupid. So I've tried to skirt that line for my whole career. But yeah, so there've been so many names of places. I could name places that maybe only ran 2 or 3 shows, or places that ran a long time and are gone, and places that have gone through, like IWC's gone through at least 3 different, I guess you could call them eras, based on who owns them. And it's interesting. Now there's shows all the time, as the Sorg family could tell you. They're constantly filming shows. There's a show. There's probably 4 shows going on right now as I'm talking to you.
I would genuinely feel bad, like how often Mike Sorg has to hear my voice.
Yeah.
Like,
and he has to hear it during edits, so it's like constantly like,
yeah.
yeah.
Like, I don't even want to hear my voice as much as Sorg has to hear my voice. And speaking of which, I mean, to kind of go back to a few of your earlier points, because you touched on a lot of good stuff there. I mean, as you said yourself, and I mean, when you won the title, you passionately put it out in the ring. At 47, you're still wrestling a regular schedule.
Yeah.
And let's all the
nowhere near where I was. Seriously, it's amazing that I stayed married as long as I was the first time I was married, because I would wrestle Wednesday or Thursday through Sunday, multiple shows, and not be home. And I know that I would never get away with that today. And like, so now, yeah, I'm still wrestling pretty regularly, but yeah.
So I mean, like,
not super easy
because there's no fourth wall, as you said. Sorg edits everything, so you wrestle for Rise Pro Wrestling,
yeah,
as well, and I announce there, and I'm grateful for that too. How, I mean, at 47, with so many years, I mean, literally decades on your body.
Yeah.
Today, how is your approach? Is your approach to pro wrestling any different today? I mean, as you said, you really have trimmed down a lot, which is awesome. Good for you. Do you approach, let's say you're going to have X amount of matches this week, this month?
Yeah.
Has your approach, as far as like what you're going to do in the ring, out of the ring, does that change based on the fact that you're 20 years into it now, as opposed to what you would have done, let's say, 10 or 15 years ago?
It's weird. I was telling somebody about it today. They were asking me about wrestling, and I said it's interesting because, to me at least, because when I was younger, like I really didn't want to. This is deep for wrestling, right? I didn't really care. I didn't think I'd make it to 30. So literally, and then I didn't think I'd make it to 35. Every year I'd add another year. Like, I don't think I'll make it to 33. Right. So like every year, every match, I was always like, well, this is it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you approach each match like it's your last. And that's how I approached a lot of my career, where it was like, well, whatever happens tonight, like, I think this sounds foolhardy, but you should perfectly be willing to die every time you wrestle. I think it's like, and really take those risks and like go all out every time. And I said to myself when I started wrestling, I went to so many shows when I was young, and I would see guys like half-ass it, and I never want to be that guy. So if I start to become that guy, I ask people that all the time. Like, if there comes a time where I'm like just doing comedy or just not putting everything into it and I don't care about it enough, that's like when I know I'm done. And I just really, I try to be safer, but then I know I'm going to do something stupid on the next show. Do you know what I mean? I've tried to figure out how to make.
We've actually had those conversations. I'm like, yeah, Dale, I know you've been doing this 25 years, but are you okay?
Well, that's the thing. It's like,
it's because I care. It's not that I'm trying to lecture you.
I appreciate it. It's like, Mick Foley said to me once, he saw me take a German on the concrete, and he's like, maybe you should slow down. And I was like, maybe I should have had different heroes. And he started laughing. He's like, yeah, all right. And I think like the romantic notion of self-destruction is like too powerful sometimes when you're in the ring. And also the difference, like, this is calm me, like I'm still Shirley Doe right now, and this is very calm, measured, like thoughtful. But like once I'm out there and adrenaline kicks in, I really am not, I have no rational control over my body anymore. I used to call it I read in the first Satanic Bible, there's a ritual, werewolf ritual in it. It's like a Gestalt ritual, and the idea of the Gestalt is to create a twin of yourself, or version of, it's a magic. Sorry, I'm going to get real deep into black magic, but a black magic thing where because most magic users can't control how damaging black magic is to their soul, so you have to create a second or third soul for yourself. Whether or not you believe that, it's up to you.
I'm not religious at all.
Yeah,
I just count all of them equally.
Neither's the Church of Satan. It's anti-religion. It's based on the theory of that yourself is more important than anything, and it's based on a lot of different philosophies. But anyway, so the theory
I don't think myself is important either. I just low self-esteem.
You should. Yourself should be the most important thing, and you start with yourself, and you save yourself first before you save anyone. But I could talk about Satanism for a long time. But the idea of the Gestalt thing is creating another better version of yourself that can take all that damage. And that Wehrmacht ritual, the werewolf ritual, is like, when I read it, I was like, oh, like I never realized it. Like, there's a lot of times in my life where I've learned like a thought process, like the way insights go into action, like all these different thought processes, like people had them before me and I never realized, and I just called them other stuff. So if you ever see me backstage, like I literally keep punching myself in the face until like I go into this like Zen state. That's pretty much what the werewolf ritual is, but I just didn't know what it was. So that is, Anton LaVey said, you'll read these things and eventually you realize that you were on the right path, the left-hand path all along. So I guess when I was like 19 or 20 and learned how to wrestle, I was like, oh yeah, I'm kind of going down the wrong path or the right path. Depends on how you want to.
So for you, is the Shirley Doe that puts the makeup on, is that an extension of
It's a different, totally different person.
Okay.
They are, it's like, and the other thing is too, if you think about it, like if you look at the old listings that New Japan used to do, like Keiji Muto and Great Muta are listed as two totally different people. They have different hometowns. They have different heights and weights. They're considered two totally separate people, even today. And so is like Kishin Liger and Jushin Liger separate. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's literally, I don't know how you want to look at it. Are they different people or like a division, or is it like a Shazam thing where two people are sharing one soul? I think I always look at Shirley Doe as like the both the best and worst parts of who I really am. And there's times in my, yes, we have a regular life as wrestlers, but I'm saying in character, but it's the best and worst parts of me, and it's something to rely on, but it's definitely a more confident, angry, and able to deal with anger better version of me. But I look at it as like a separate person. Like I used to do a thing where I would close my eyes before I would go out and say, when I open my eyes, I will not be myself anymore. I will give myself into whatever this is, and I still do that somewhat. There's a lot of like meditation and stuff that goes into it. Putting the makeup on's another thing. Like that's why I wear the makeup, like because it's like it's all ritual. Like wrestling, being a Catholic priest and being a wrestler isn't that different, right? Because you're both wearing costumes and you're both please don't make any jokes about boys. But it's like it's the idea that you're putting on a costume and you're obfuscating yourself with smoke or lights and you're entering into a different mind state, and like also that you're entertaining people or doing like a parable or like a passion play for people, and that's really cool. Like I always look at myself as like more of a storyteller than a wrestler, so if I can tell someone a really good story and get them excited about it. Sorry, I didn't mean to get so metaphysical on the what is this called? Fighting words, talking wrestling, or whatever we're called, fighting words. It's Shirley Doe's. It's not really fighting words. It's more like figuring out words with Shirley Doe. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, cool.
And I think to follow up on that, because you said, I mean, you went to Detroit, you've gone to New York, been all over the place. And this may sound kind of trivial, but I think it's something that people on the outside of wrestling may not understand. Like, what is it like? You go to Detroit, you drive 6 hours.
Detroit almost killed me. I was just telling someone the story the other day. It was a horrible, literally the worst 24 hours of my life.
Well, we have to hear this story.
No, we don't. It's the worst story.
Well, all right, to abridge that.
Yeah. I can. Go ahead, sorry.
When you get in a car and you're going to drive 6 hours.
Yeah.
And the promoter tells you 10 to 12 as far as like, how do you justify that, like within yourself? Like, how do you find the drive, quite literally and figuratively, to say, I'm going to go here and I'm going to travel 6 hours for that chance to get in the squared circle?
I would travel 6 hours to maybe be on a battle royal when I first started. I traveled 4.5, 5 hours to Kalamazoo, Michigan once for a Sabu show because there were a couple guys on the show that I could work out with and learn stuff from before, and I got stretched out in the locker room, never had a match. And they had like amateur rings, amateur mats in back, and a bunch of dudes taught me how to do leg locks and how to do stuff, and just basically stretched me for like 3 hours before the show. But it was like the way I looked at it was like it's like a time. I believe that we have like these multiple budgets in our life. We have like a money budget and a time budget. And to me, the time I was putting into it meant something. Because before, if I didn't do this, I wanted to be in a sideshow. Like I wanted to be a fire breather or like a geek and like bite the heads off of chickens, right? So like I thought like how could I do something that would like really scare people? And like this is like wrestling is as close to the typical sideshow thing doesn't exist anymore post 1960s. So I mean there still is sideshows, but nothing to the level of like there was a whole town in Florida called Gibbstown where all the freaks lived in the off season. That was my dream as a kid to live there.
You wanted to be one of us.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, Todd Browning's Freaks is a great movie.
Yeah, that's
it's the original Grindhouse movie because they actually bought it. Universal gave it away because they didn't want anyone to watch it because it was so controversial. And the guy who bought it made millions off it. But anyways, yeah, so the time spent in the car, I think I said to Mrs. Sorg. Is that wrong? But I said to her tonight, like time really doesn't have any meaning. And I think you have to realize that time is an artificial construct that we've created for ourselves, so that
just to keep track of.
Keep track and to make sure that you show up to earn your money on time, and that we can balance effort and how much monetary gain we get for effort. So I think what I would always do is like that time in the car was probably, especially when I was traveling with the right crew of guys like Zoltan and Tarantula and those guys, that time in the car was like where the majority of my knowledge of how to wrestle and how to do things came from. Just asking those guys a million questions and getting abused by them. And I was the navigator, and I was the person that pumped the gas, and I was the person that would go get food, and I was the gopher. But that's where I would learn. That's where I learned pretty much how to be a wrestler. So in that time, that 6 hours in the car, but I would always, Cole Cabana said to me once, he's like, all these people think that we have this like really sexy life, that like, oh, you're getting to go to this town and you're getting to do this stuff. And the truth is, he's like, you're in a car with 4 smelly dudes at 2. Everybody else is getting laid on a Saturday night, and you're in a car with a bunch of guys, and you have no idea where you are, and you might make it home. And the glory of the night will be as if you get to eat Waffle House or not. But if you can embrace that life, and then I guess there are rewards at the end. To me, I knew the rewards for me had to be more about the mental rewards and the idea that I've done something that a lot of people dream of doing. Maybe you listening to this now dream of being a wrestler. But to do it at a relatively high level and get to go places and get to do things, like that's its own reward to me.
So in and of itself, like that 6 hours too, because you get the passion to learn.
Yeah.
That's what, I mean, I'm not just trying to pat you on the back here. I think that's like why I enjoy seeing you continue to wrestle as much as you do, because like I've never seen a Shirley Doe match where I go, man, he really like melted in there. Like, you can always see the
effort.
A lot
of pressure now, though. I don't want you to see that match.
Well, I mean, you had a good match tonight because you beat Beastman and retained the championship. So
yeah,
that was a positive.
Yeah, it's like I think that's the thing is like I worry still about every match, and like I tend to worry about a lot of stuff in life, but like,
me too.
I tend to get really pre-curtain. There's a lot of like breathing exercises and getting in the right headspace, like I talked about. But so much of it is like worry, because I want each time I go out, I always think of the audience, and I think, how can I give them something, especially because now, like tonight, I was up last. Like, how do I give them something else that maybe they haven't seen, or how can I like deliver on some kind of passion for, and them recognize the passion I have for it, and that. And I also just like to fight. I mean, I would fight in bars all the time. I mean, legitimately, this is not me being ass. I'm like, I got in so many fights. I'm like, I should probably just do this, because like, I figure out a way to make, I sucked at it. I got beat up all the time, but I just like the idea. Like, I grew up with a heart murmur and didn't do anything physical until I was 17 or 18. And then I went nuts. I played hockey and all these sports. And I was like, I missed out on this sporting life. So I got another 30 years of it when everybody else did. And they were playing softball, and I was getting hit in the head with a chair by Brandon Kay. Or whoever.
Well, I think what you just said is very telling, because, I mean, you just said you think of the audience.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I respect so much about you. And legitimately, like, when it comes to people I respect the most, it's you, Brandon Kay, and Quinn Magnum.
Uh-huh.
And that's legit.
Those two are good. I don't know about me.
No, you're in there. At least you're in my top 3, and you can't change my mind.
Okay. But I think it's the same thing. It's like you have to. There's a reason why. Like.
But you're not like out there like, hey, brother, I'm a superstar, brother. Here I am, brother. Like you literally just said yourself. You think of the audience. You're not trying to pat yourself on the back when you go out there. Like.
No, and yeah, it's just I love. Also, it enables me to do something that I couldn't do. Like, if anything else in life, like most people, what do? They do softball, or they do some kind of like kickball or some intramurals. But do you know what I mean? That these sports that people do.
It's a crazy business for it.
Yeah, and it's
really
like
is.
And like that's what they do to blow off steam. And like I couldn't blow off steam playing softball. Like first off, I probably want to hit somebody with a bat. I'm not that fast, right? I'm good at like controlled burst. The ring's great for me because it controlled burst of speed. I'm fast, but I'm not good at in a distance.
Me either.
And I hit really hard. That's like, where else can you use the ability to throw really good forearms outside of this, or like I'm good at demo. Like if I didn't do what I do for my real job, I would like to knock houses down. So this is, I guess I'm taking my ability to knock houses down and using it on human flesh.
Well, you knocked a house down in Beastman. I mean, that was a very physical match. It's a match that I knew was going to be physical.
Yeah.
And because of that, like you've reiterated how like important it was for you to have things come full circle.
Yeah.
With the PWX title. And as far as Beast Man, I mean, things over the past few months have been a little sketchy.
Yeah.
To put it mildly, but I'll ask you your opinion on Beast Man as an opponent, as an athlete. I think he's really talented. Sometimes I question his decision making, but he also
I think
he's a giant bone around. So
I think he's super talented. I think he's gotten better of the guys in Pittsburgh that I can think of, like from where. And he wasn't bad when he got started, so he's all like, I'm not saying that,
he was a rookie for sure. Like,
yeah,
it was just a matter of time.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the hard thing about wrestling is like wrestling throws you into the deep end very quickly. So like you're on a show, the same people that are watching the main event are watching you in the open, and they're expecting the same level of quality. It's rough everywhere because I put a lot of pressure on myself. The IWC shows were the worst for students, and I trained a lot of their guys, so I would keep their guys out of the ring for the longest time because I knew it's like a meat grinder, right? To throw people into this. Do you know what I mean?
Because you just watched AJ and Chris Daniels.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's like
30-minute spot.
Or like the worst is when we were in Philly and it was like Hentai and I were on the first MLW show and it was like, hey, here's Vampiro and here's LA. Well, it wasn't LA Park. That's another story. It was Volador's dad doing the gimmick and getting paid for it. Super Parka. And then there's like all Bam Bam Bigelow and like Teo Kia. There's all these like big stars, Shane Douglas, and like, oh yeah, you guys go out and do your thing. Yeah. And it's like, cool, okay, great. And it's like I said, I'm like, nobody is going to enjoy this match at all.
You did have a sweet fireman's carry in that match though, because it was a GIF. I think Rob Naylor put it up.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, and I popped huge. It was like, hey, it's Doe and Hentai.
We used to do that was that was 3PW.
Honestly, I was going to correct you, and I thought maybe I'm wrong.
No, because 3PW was Hentai Night. It was within the same 6 months when everybody ran ECW Arena, and then that MLW was Phil Friedman, PJ. I can't remember what name he was using at the time. He was in WWE for a real brief run. He was in before NXT when it was still FCW. He was there, and he'll kill me because I couldn't remember his name. But he was a UFC guy. He did like 2 UFCs, and he ran a couple gyms for fighters. And like we trained at Dory Funk's together, and it was crazy because like he did his first UFC fights, and they said, hey, make sure you let these guys go like 5 or 6 minutes. Don't beat them in 30 seconds. And he beat him in like 25 seconds. PJ Freeman is the name he used. I can't remember what his WWE name was. His gimmick ended up going to who's the guy who came out with the tank at WrestleMania? Rusev. Yeah, his very similar gimmick. He got hurt. This is Bill DeMott chicanery era. Got hurt. And yeah. So now he does much cooler stuff. He is I'm not legally allowed to say what he does, but it's awesome.
Okay, so so we don't violate any legal laws. I think we'll wrap up.
But yeah,
he's gonna hang me.
Hentai wrestled with Jerry Lynn, and Abu Nai was on his team, and they wrestled 3 guys from Shikara. That's what that show was. But yeah, the 3PW match, if you watch it, the first move, Hentai punches me as hard in the face I've ever been punched, and I should have been ready for it because it was every match. And I think I took a fireman's carry off the top at one point too, which is stupid. Like I'd rather take a pile driver off the top than a fireman's carry. That's a long way to fall. Samu was the king of doing that because he would give you that standing one, and he's so tall, and you'd be like, man, I'm up here.
And drawing back to the Fight Society Championship, a man that you've had a ton of history with, Troy Wards, broke his wrist in 3 places prior to a title victory. And he gutted through 25 minutes, last man standing against Patrick Hayes. And just recently, he won a tremendous 30-minute Iron Man match against Hayes. It was one of the best matches I've ever called. I've said it several times. I think Troy's one of the most underrated guys in Pittsburgh. And he's had a grudge with you over that championship.
Yeah.
And he may have a point because he never lost the title.
No, and I feel the same way, honestly. Like, I was upset. Even though, so I don't see eye to eye with him, but like I try to be empathetic to people, right? Because we've all been through stuff. And the fact that he came so far and changed up everything and won that title and have it taken away, like that's upsetting, right? And I know how he feels. Like we've all had something in our hands and had it snatched away. The way he's going about it and the way that he's trying to get what I've done, I've worked the same way. You can't with most wrestlers outside of like some of these younger guys who I would like to DDT every show, with once you get to a certain level in wrestling, we've all sacrificed and we've all busted our asses to get where we're at, right? And he definitely has. I mean, I've been fighting with Troy Lords, oh man, for forever. I remember the second or third Super Indy we had a match for the IWC title.
It was the fourth Super Indy. I know because I was about legitimately, and there's this. The reason I'm saying this because you can go to the IndyWrestling.us YouTube page and watch this match. When you hit the floor on a dragon screw leg whip, I'm about 6 feet away, and even me, I literally jump into the frame because I'm shocked to see you hit the floor.
Yeah, I threw up a piece of my insides. I like coughed up like this white mass, and like to this day I have no idea what it was, and I was like, ooh, that probably isn't good. That's a weird feeling too when you hit the floor that hard and you're like, cool, either my body's not going to work after this or it's going to work. And then it worked, so it was fine. But yeah, so I've been fighting Troy Lords for a long time. And you know what? Since, honestly, back in IWC days, he had like this tremendous run with Hentai. They had a match in Butler one time where like he got DDT'd off the top. It was the damnest thing I ever seen. And like he's had great matches all the time. And I just think that I don't even think he's underrated. I just think that people are stupid. I think people haven't recognized how good he is. And I have, and I would say honestly, 100% he's the best wrestler in this company. I think he and Patrick Hayes are neck and neck. He beat Hayes tonight, so I guess for now it's him. My ability is a lot different. Like, right, I'm a brawler and I can take a lot of punishment and I'm stupid. So I don't know how well we measure up, but I'm really interested now because it's been a long time since we wrestled. We've like ran into each other matches, and if you ever notice when we run into each other, it always turns into this like forearm hitting each other's hard and headbutts and stuff. And it's just like I think there's this weird test between us of who can hurt the other. So I'm really excited for it to be one-on-one and have that happen. And I know he has Beastman, and he might have Scarlett, he might have Jimmy Vegas, he might have all these people. I really don't care. I mean, I already fought 9 people in one night. I'll fight 15 people in one night. I want to fight him one-on-one. I want to figure out who the best person is. And I would hopefully he's listening to this, and hopefully that he feels the same way. I know he probably doesn't. Who knows what goes through his head right now, but I'm beyond excited to have that match happen. I can't honestly think of a better match to be the main event of a show. And I hate putting myself over, so it's not really me. It's just the idea that like, I think that is the best one-on-one match that Fight Society can give right now. And have that be, for that to be the anniversary show match is, man, that's crazy. Like, because I remember the first couple anniversary shows, I was lucky to get on shows, right? I'd go 6 months without being on shows and wrestle all the time. So the fact to be where I'm at for as much little time as I have left, I realize it's a ticking clock of how little, I mean, do you know what I mean? Like, there's guys today that are going to be wrestling for decades past me, right? And I'm just like this milestone, this footnote in their career. To get to be on this, to even be on this show, but much less to be this high up and to defend the title against him, I mean, that's an awesome, it's just crazy, right?
Absolutely. It's one I'm looking forward to calling.
Yeah, so it's like, I'm really excited about that match because, like, honestly, I'm going to bring everything I can to it. And I know he's going to too. And I think he deserves it. Like, if that was the next person I wanted to fight, I know I had to get past Beastman, and I don't care. They can put anyone in front of me they want. But that's the person I want to fight. I want to fight Troy Lords. And honestly, I wish I could have fought him tonight. And I know he's going to get involved in all my matches, and I know he's going to do his mind games and stuff. But I do mind games pretty well too. So I'm really excited to see him, what he brings to the table, and what he brings to the ring.
As I've coined on commentary, you have a PhD in ring psychology.
Where do you go to school for that? I went to Dory Funk school, yeah.
And on that note, Dory Funk's a good note to end on. So,
I can tell you one Dory Funk story before we're done.
Oh yeah, cool.
I said, I want to learn how to throw punches like your brother. And he said, you sure? And I said, yes, I want to learn how to throw the European uppercut, and I want to learn how to throw punches like your brother, because his punches are the best punches I've ever seen. I said, cool, I'll teach you. Like, at the end, once you get through this, if I feel like you deserve it. And like, he taught me the uppercut, and that took like 6 months, right? Or a year to figure out. I still, like, it's like there's a lot to it more than just, I hate watching dudes do European uppercuts because no one does them like Dory. Like,
He drops down on a knee.
He drops on the knee and comes back up. And it's like, I remember Carino told me, like, he's going to hit you as many times as he can and as hard as he can just to prove a point. I'm like, awesome. Like, I want Dory Funk to, like, beat the shit out of me, right? Because that's, like, the Funks are my heroes. So we're done, and I was like, I'm getting ready to go to the airport. And he goes, oh, hey, Doe. He said, come here, I'll tell you. I said, yeah. He goes, you know how my brother throws such good punches? My kind of goes, he punches people right in the fucking face. And I was like, oh, okay. He goes, just hit people as hard as you can. And I was like, that's it?
Yeah,
and he goes, that's the whole secret.
That was in Foley's book, too.
Yeah, when I read it, I was
for that big left, he realizes Terry just pops people in the face.
Dude, it's serious. And Carino said to me, he's like, because Dory was in his late, he's still kicking, right? But he was in his late 60s at the time, and he's like, you will be shocked at how hard a 67-year-old man can hit you. And I was like, okay. The only two people who have ever shocked me how hard they hit me is him and Tracy. Because when we were down at the Palisades, thank you.
See, I'm here.
Concussions.
It's one of my favorite matches of all time.
Really?
I'll tell you off air.
Oh, man. But, yeah, he said he hit me with a football tackle, and I was like, what the hell just happened? And, like, I know Tracy hits hard. Tracy's my all-time, honestly, probably my all-time favorite wrestler, right? My all-time favorite opponent. Because I learned so much every time with him. And it was like a joy, like, because, like, to me, being a Southern wrestler is who I always wanted to be when I was growing up, right? And the fact Southern dudes that do Kung Fu is my jam, right? Because, like, him and what's his name? Stan Lane. Like, Southern dudes that do Kung Fu doesn't make any sense, right? And Tracy's back fist, and, like, oh, he's like, you know, and I'm, like, thinking, like, oh, that back fist is going to be cool. That back fist is insane, right? That back fist is, like, knock your teeth out. The only other person that is, like, I got stunned in the lights in Japan one time. I fought a K1 dude from the Taka trained, and he did one of those Van Damme kicks. The Van Damme, not John Claude, not Rob, but, like, you know, the end of the Jean Claude movies where he do those kicks. And you're like, why did someone just punch him in the dick, right? Because, like, it's like, but really, I know why now, because you're looking at it like, this is beautiful, and, like, you see that leg spinning at you, and you're like, how is he doing? This is like Chun-Li from Street Fighter. How is this happening? And then it hits you in the face, and you're like, oh, my God, what just happened? And then I was knocked out, and I wandered a Japanese swap meet and talked Japanese for an hour. I bought all this shit. I don't know what I bought. And I remember I woke up on the way back to Osaka on the bus, and I was like, and it just literally clicked back in. They're like, yeah, you were having a really good time.
And you've got, like, Japanese newspapers all around you?
We were on the Disney bus. So there's Disney buses that go from Osaka to Tokyo and Osaka to Nagoya. So you ride the Disney bus, and it's really cheap. So, but you'll wake up in the middle of the night, and you're surrounded by all, like, 19-year-old Japanese girls wearing Mickey Mouse hats, screaming.
There is nothing wrong being surrounded by Japanese women.
I like the Russian. My wife's Russian, so. But yeah. That's what I said before I got married. I said to somebody one time, I was like, my dream is to meet a Russian girl, like, you know, like Brigitte Nielsen was in Rocky.
Yeah.
Like, I want to meet a short-haired blonde Russian girl that hates everybody but me, and is just really mean to people. And God damn it, I found it. It's great. Like, she scares me the way she, like, goes after people. I love it. So I learn a lot from her. I should, like, pick up some of her ring sense. I've taught her 3 moves.
Yeah, I think we need, like, Becca's, like, fighting style 101.
Dude, it's great because one of the fans said, I know who you are. You're Becca. She's like, the fuck are you? And I was like, she's like, you're not allowed to know who the fuck I am. And I was like, oh, baby, I love you so much. Right?
I only know her from your award-winning website, bnsaboutmovies.com.
Yeah. Dude, how many girls have a tattoo of the anti-god from Prince of Darkness? But anyway, that's not about wrestling.
Yeah, we got to wrap it up.
Yeah, wrap it up. Wrap it up, B.
My name's Jim.
That wrap it up box.
My name is Jim Amata. He's Shirley Doe. This has been Fighting Words. And join us next time.
This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com.